Hey guys, what's up? This is Patrick, and in this video we are playing 2 tables of Russian cash. Let's see, we have an equilibrium call versus a normal sizing. This is kind of large though. We are a bit deeper, but still think it's a bit too large. Probably versus the pool it would be a fine fold anyway, as the recreation, sorry, as the pool is not 4-betting enough in position there. Okay, we see that small here versus a presumed recreational, and then check, assuming that he's going to be betting too often. Yeah, so we can check raise for value here. I think this is probably a bit too weak by him. It doesn't really contain a lot of hands that I feel particularly scared of. So I think just putting more money into the pot is generally a good idea. And just, yeah, like sometimes he's just going to call down with a pocket pair or something like that, because he doesn't believe. Squeezing is a bit too ambitious here, so we're just going to call. In wider formations I would be squeezing, but I think when UTG opens and cut off cold calls, we want to be a bit more selective. And then when he c-bets, our king high is worthless basically. Versus solid regular, I want to go with a bet 75 and check. We're going to be betting reasonably often, but this is probably one of the highest checking frequency ones, as our ace high can win at showdown a reasonable amount. We don't really have a lot of turns we can barrel on, and it's really hard to get into a situation. Like if we have queen jack, for instance, we want to bet much more often, queen 9 much more often, because our high card is a lot more shitty, so winning by the time we get the showdown is pretty much impossible. With ace 9 we get the check down here and sometimes win versus ace 4 or something similar. He shouldn't really be choosing this sizing on this texture. I'm just going to check raise very wide, I think. For a smaller sizing we get an immediate 3-bet. I think this is a relatively aggressive dude, so I'm just going to call, potentially not fold by the time we get to the river, but it is not an ideal spot to be in. Ace 9 is not going to be a 3-bet in these positions, I think. It's close now, but probably this is fine. I think I'm not folding, to be honest. It's kind of, the check is really annoying because jack 9, queen jack, king jack are all hands that he could 3-bet with, but still I think, yeah. This is an interesting river. Like if he would have found the bluff there, I would have given up. Because realistically, like the bluffs that he has are, like the most natural bluffs that he has are queen jack, king jack, jack 9, 7, 8, 8, 9 type hands. And by the time this is, like by the time the river gets dealt here, sorry, I'm struggling a little bit with forming coherent sentences. By the time the river gets dealt here, it's really tough to see any natural bluffs unless he finds some random pocket 7s or 5-7 suited or something like that, which is highly unlikely. So probably would have folded the river had he gone for it, but luckily for us he didn't. Going to 3-bet very wide in these positions because the pool doesn't 4-bet often enough and generally opens a bit too wide. So just going and 3-betting. I think like if you're playing in this pool occasionally, you could just probably get away with 3-bet or fold. Here versus a cold call, I think I like to check. We don't really get the bet very often versus a cold call. Seems to be recreational. My hand is pretty close. I am going to call, but it's definitely close. We just have a call. We're not going to raise here when he can have flushes. Folding also seems out of the question when we hit. It's one of the downsides of peeling the turn there. I think it's okay. It's pretty close. Obviously calling with a heart without, it's like I said, close. Versus recreational, I think calling is fine. Like it would be significantly better had he gone and bet half pot on the turn. Now he bets 3/4. You're going to see a barrel on the river quite often. I could be convinced that we just have to fold versus the player type. As he was like 27-8 or something like that, 26-8. Yeah, might be an okay fold, just given the bet size. He's probably going to be too honest with the sizings there. In these instances where you can basically bet any sizing. If they bet small, they're too weak. If they bet strong, they're too strong. And so if I have a close call, I should probably just fold turn rather than still call. Just one option there. Turn I size down slightly. I think I could have gone a little bit bigger, but just going and making sure that we divide it. Like we should probably go 2E on the turn and just make sure it's equally distributed. Now I have to go a little bit bigger. It's fine though. Here on the right, not sure this is as big of a recreational as it seems, but still I think I just want the ISO wide. This is way too wide and the players behind me should attack this very aggressively, but experience learns that no one is really doing that in these games, so you get to still do it and then play in position versus recreational. Pretty good board for him actually. I just choose to bet anyway, because if I check I'm getting a probe way too often, which is kind of annoying. Are actually playing like the stats indicate that they were playing, and it's fine. Quite likely though they're a bit, like we just didn't have the sample to draw any dramatic conclusions, but whatever. At least we get some hands in for the video right now. Here I'm 3-betting. This is again a bit wide, but this guy plays very wide ranges. So I kind of want to 3-bet and play versus his weaker range with a skill advantage. Going with a linear 3-bet range, but pretty wide, as you can see. And on the left side we 3-bet and just range betting seems fine. Do we ever check back a king? I don't think we do, to be honest. On the right side, I'm just going to keep blasting. I think you could potentially check. Get a quick call, which is not too appealing, but we are going to get some folds by spades here. So our non-spades are probably pure bluffing, and it's probably going to, it is going to be a profitable bluff versus recreational. It's a bit annoying, but yeah, what can we do? River is interesting here. Do we jam? I think this is quite likely an okay value bet versus the pool. It's kind of a shitty spot to be honest. On the left, like, we're going to get snapped by King Queen. King Jack is probably going to call. King 10 is any king is going to call, so that's good. I don't think he's going to call the indifferent hands though, which makes this feel kind of iffy. On the right side, we got called in the end by King 10, which is fine. It's an overfolded spot by the recreational, so I just kind of am in a situation where if I bet the turn, I'm just always going to bluff the river. And yeah, you're going to see a mild return on investment there. We basically, by the time we're on the river, we bet 180. Now I expect to take a little bit of the pot that was in the middle back. The most interesting part is probably the turn, where our hand probably doesn't really want to bet very often. But again, recreational's overfolded turn. So basically what ends up happening, he plays 40, 30 something. I think it's relatively important to understand this. So his pre-flop calling range is just going to be full of random stuff that really should be folding. And so if you bet every suite, on every suite the ranges are going to crumble a little bit. And therefore I think just going bet, bet, bet yields is probably the highest EV line for us to take. It is a bit annoying when you put in a stack and with 10 high and you lose, but definitely going to be a profitable line to take. Mixed 3-bet with 6-5, you could just always fold it, it would be fine. I'm going to go with a larger size here and play a bit too honest. I don't think people are generally checking back enough flush draws, so just going and betting big here. It's relatively safe. Also, I don't think they're going to be raising enough versus probes, versus smaller probes, so just betting the strength of my hand is just going to be good. And on the river here we check, we lose versus an ace, which is kind of annoying. Or 6, but we get a check back by King Jack, Queen Jack, Jack 10. Yeah. Bit of a wide 3-bet on the right side. We get punished for it. On the left, we are allowed to bet at a decent frequency here, having 7 higher frequency and then having the 9 on top of that, giving us a super straight when we hit our 8. I think we're just going to bet near pure frequency. On the right, we flop top pair, top kicker. I could go ahead with a range bet. I could go ahead with overbet and check. I think I will go ahead with overbet and check. On the right, I am going to go ahead and overbet, I think. Actually, I'm going to check, I think. Like spiking an 8 would be very profitable if, and then just checking back, and then if we hit an 8, we just want more 7s in a villain's range. Getting him to fold a 7 is okay, but it's not necessarily super. Here we go ahead and fold. And on the right side, I just went with regular 80-ish% pot. Standard 3-bet would be folding versus a 4-bet. Ace, a 10-5 deuce is an okay texture. We can bet our entire range, but we can bet at a decent frequency. I think we want to bet the ones with the offsuited combos with a club a bit more, so that we unblock some king, queen of spades, ace, jack of spades. These ones slightly less. I don't think it will be a massive difference, but it is a reasonable way to randomize. On the turn here, we are going to go ahead and call mostly. Hands like queen, jack will be raising sometimes. Jack 9, which we're still going to have at some frequency, is going to be raising. And out of position should be betting at a high frequency with most of his pocket pairs. And here we're just going to go ahead and bet. Nicely played by him. I think a lot of players would automatically bet the river there, but I think he gets to actually check a fair bit on the queen, as we are going to call a bunch of hands with a queen in it. So some queen of diamonds type hands, queen jack is going to call sometimes. Here I'm just going to call because it's multi-way. Because it's a bomb pot. So having something here is reasonable. Guy seems to be pretty aggressive, so I'm just going to call down probably. It's a pretty good river. It's kind of annoying. If he's betting 7, he's betting an awful lot of other stuff as well. He's just clicking buttons to some extent. But like I said here, I think a lot of players would see the queen that they spiked here and automatically bet, but he's blocking some checkbacks, which is good. With the ace high hands, I'm mostly going to check back, although probably betting a reasonable amount with ace king and ace jack actually, so but that play rolls well. I have no idea how to play these, I'll be completely honest. I haven't studied them for even a minute, as I don't really play these games. And I think I should, I don't think you should either, but they're good for making videos. So like the fact that he checks here is pretty good. I go and bet 85% or something like that. He just calls, which is fine. Here I go ahead and block bet, pretty mediocre bluff, and he raises small, good for him. I decided to check here. I blocked some checkbacks by hands like king, queen, queen, jack, queen 10. He doesn't really have those very often because he's going to bet them on the flop mostly, but still think it's an okay check. I could check raise here. I am actually going to call. They're barreling too often after betting large on the turn. And we get an overbet. We're just going to jam. Can't really win a jackpot, which is kind of annoying. Do we win a jackpot if we split here? If he has ace queen as himself, do we win something then? Probably not. I'm guessing this is, like if I had to guess, probably ace 9. I don't think people are generally overbet bluffing here on an ace because they don't expect me to fold something. But ace, wow, that's lucky. Decent check back by him on the flop, for what it's worth. I don't think he should be betting pure there. Here, I'm not really in a position where I am, I don't know, like I'm always check raising the turn with 2 pair or something like that there. So I'm going to have ace 9, ace 8, ace queen offsuit in particular. So there's a fair amount of combos that I can have. Like there's 2 times 3, 6, 7, yeah, 7 combos. We get a 3/4 bet here, which is a bit gross. We're a bit too deep, I think, to start jamming stuff like this. So we just call. I like the fact that he's sizing down, as it allows him to bet aces and kings still. But yeah, I don't know. Like, good sizing by him. I need to be careful. I think I would be tempted to fold queens without a diamond here versus the average player in this pool on the turn there, after he goes 3/4. And here we face a check. I think we just got a check here. Like, he has kings, I think, quite often. It feels like he has kings here. He could have aces occasionally, but definitely feels like kings. Wow, it's a bit unlucky. I think my hand is too strong to turn it into a bluff. Alright, that's it for this video. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments down below. There should be a link to our public Discord server where I'm hanging out on a daily basis as well. So if you want to be in contact with me directly, you can join and ask me anything basically. And if you're playing today, good luck with the tables and talk to you guys soon. Bye.